Chad Jacobs, Tim Crane, Ms. Garrison, and myself. I think I got everybody. Did I get everybody? Oh, and Susan Norton. I'm sorry. So this is your refuse collection options. Currently, our operating cost at the collection centers, this is for FY 2015, is $778,682. Alternatives to the collection centers, option number 1, and we'll review each of these in detail. Mandatory curbside collection contract with a refuse hauler. Option number 2, collection centers remain open with a user fee collected. And option number 3, continuing the existing collection center program. Option number 1, mandatory curbside collection contract with a refuse hauler. Citizens would pay it annually via their tax bills. Hauler would pay a franchise fee to the county. The collection centers would close. A layoff of the part-time employees that are currently manning the collection centers. Absorbing of full-time employees in other departments into existing long-term vacancies. There's 3 full-time employees that currently work in that division. The cost of that would be $154,477. That's this year's cost that you would minus off of the savings from this plan. Backdoor pickups can be arranged for residents who are unable to take their trash and recyclables to the curb. It would average between $5 to $10 additional service charge. This is monthly. It varies by provider based on truck being able to navigate the driveway. So as long as the vehicle, the truck that they're using, can get up the driveway, this is generally what the charge is depending on who the hauler is. This is in addition to the monthly cost. Haulers typically do not, yes?
Can we interrupt and ask you a question? TJ, this information, based on these charges, did you like check with local companies to get this?
Yes, ma'am. If you remember from the retreat, we presented charges from all of the counties that surround us and touch us, and all of the local municipalities, both the county and the city. Mm-hmm. And we polled all of the vendors that are currently being used also.
Okay.
We did about, I think at the retreat, I think we gave you about 30 or 40 examples of existing contracts that are next to us.
All right, thank you.
And we touched every county that touched us.
Okay.
Haulers typically do not offer elderly discounts, however, the county can elect to do so. One option that may be here for this is that the franchise fee, a portion of that can be used to discount for any criteria that the commissioners would set that would qualify for a discount. Recycling service is included. Yard debris pickup offered at additional charge and is generally around $3.50 per month in addition to the standard fee. So the estimated annual cost would be $180. This is based on 12,000 rooftops. That would be what we could approximate from GIS, 12,000 residential rooftops that are within the county that would utilize the service. And this is based on charges providers servicing the surrounding counties. So we're just averaging this to be about $15 a month. There is some providers that charge less, and there's some that charge considerably more. So this is right in the middle. We wouldn't know exactly what that number is unless you were to set up an RFQ and RFP. So savings of the county on option number 1 would be $627,236. This is if you elect to retain those 3 full-time positions that there currently is. That would be an immediate savings if you went to mandatory curbside. An implementation schedule, we figure it take about a month to write the bids. But you need a 30-day, 4-week advertising period. Take 30 days to evaluate the bids that are received. And then the countywide implementation from the hauler that receives the bids would be approximately 90 days. Option 2, Collection centers remain open and you impose a user fee to the user. Citizens will purchase and display a decal on their vehicle. Additional decals per household could be sold at a considerable discounted rate that you would set. We did look at some vehicles, some folks, they have 2 vehicles, they have 2 pickup trucks, so you don't really want to charge them full price for each of those decals. Decals may be purchased at numerous county facilities. This plan could also include a CIP program, it's the equipment purchase program, and can be included in the cost of the decal and the total operation of this option. Rec One software can be utilized as the point of sale mechanism. Currently, we institute Rec One in the Recreation Division. This is what's handling your memberships at your senior center, some of our programs, all of your pavilion rentals are being done online, and we can utilize this software in other county offices to collect the fee. Okay, so collection center, if you remain open, this would be the operating costs, $781, $713. We did figure in a capital improvement program. This is where we would go ahead and consider annually that we would be replacing equipment that we utilize to run the collection centers. And this would be on a 3-year rotational basis. So each of those years, we would figure in the cost of a new refuse truck and new bins and compactors. Basically, on this compactor price, you would replace one of the compactors annually, and then we could replace X amount of equipment and bins annually, and put everything on a 3-year rotation. So that would be included, and that way, the equipment required to run this division would be taken out of the actual user fee. Rec One fee of 1% of revenue. For every dollar that rolls through the Rec One software, we don't pay an annual maintenance fee or anything like that. It's just 1% of the revenues that go through it. So we estimate that this will be about $10,000 for the first year. Credit card transaction fees. This is based on if everybody who bought a decal was to use a credit card, on an average about a 3% transaction fee. It's about what we get charged throughout the county at different offices, so we did figure that in also. Internal administrative costs for the billing. The Rec One would do, you would get everything through your Rec One system, so could do that possibly online in the future, but when you go to an office, you would purchase your decal, so that handles most of it. But there will be training of all the employees that are using the system. Since you have 12,000 customers potentially, there's going to be questions. If something goes wrong, or somebody has a question about billing, or we need to do something. So we're not really sure how much time that will take, or exactly who that would be. We do have some people that are specifically trained with Rec One, and those are in the Parks and Recreation Division. So we would need to consider that there's probably going to be some minor costs there somewhere throughout the year. So your total cost is $989,713. If you were to divide this among the 12,000 estimated rooftops, you're looking at an annual cost of $84.48 plus the administrative costs. So as you can see, this would be less than $180. Implementation schedule. The first 2 months, we think you would need to use that to educate folks that are already currently using the collection centers. Press releases, countywide, and employee training on the RecWare software, and to be able to implement it in the offices that you decide that the citizen can go purchase a decal. And then there would be a 2-month period after that to purchase the decals. And then there was probably, we just really didn't know, there would be some kind of grace period, I'm sure, at the centers in reference to the first year of purchasing the decals. So, our estimate is that being a 4-month process, but that could range, I would think, a month or 2 in either direction. Option number 3 is continue existing collection center program. Basically, the collection centers remain open, and your FY 2016 projected cost to do that is $797,347. So your annual cost per household for option number 1 is estimated at $180, and for option 2 at $84.48.
For the first year, but that would change based on cost changes of each year.
Yes, it would be operated more as a user fee based type situation, in reference to what the actual fees or the actual cost. So I guess it could go either way, to be honest with you. But that would be based on the numbers from the previous year, so that you can move forward and keep that number, level. Yes. That's it. Questions?
Okay, under option 2, you said that the operating cost to the county is $781,000.
Let me get my other sheet.
Yeah.
781, 713.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
That, I believe, is the same. That would be, it's either FY 2015 or 2016. It's the actual operating cost.
Actual operating cost. Okay, so under that option 2, that's the actual operating cost. And should we decide to do a CIP program for replacement of equipment, which right now we don't have a CIP program.
Correct. We have no CIP program anywhere in the county.
And I guess I'm trying to come up with this where you get this total 989.
That should be all those added together, if our math is correct. Because we would actually be collecting the funds for equipment, so at the end of the year, we would be purchasing equipment outright. We would not be leasing or anything of that nature. We would actually, for the first time, be purchasing equipment. So that means too, at that 3-year period, we could also, we'll have something to sell at the end of that 3-year period, so that could be some funds that could go in there to offset some costs.
So it's basically a pay-as-you-go plan on a improvement program.
Yes, sir.
So what about now at the recycling centers now, we accept yard refuse?
That's correct, yes, ma'am. I think at
Carver
Mr.
Road.
Crane is here, just at Carver Road.
And recycling?
Well, it's at all the centers.
Commingle recycling in all the centers.
Okay.
The estimated cost that you have for those credit card fees, is that pretty much is what projected is now, or you're saying that?
Right, that's more real life.
I would like these figures.
Right, yes, ma'am. And then as we get more dollars running in that system, we may be able to look at some other programs that may be able to reduce that cost. And that's based on 100% of all transactions being credit card. So we wanted to give you what the maximum numbers
Right.
would be
Because
estimated
I
at.
kind of figured, I didn't think everybody would use credit cards, but that's the max, okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Okay, and it said option 3, consider FY, that's just collection centers remain open at 797.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess I'm really not getting how, I mean, I see what you're saying under option 2, that, it's only gonna cost the residents $84.48, but it's still costing the county $84.48. Because, I mean, where we're going from, what we're saying is that you have figured out what this DayCal fee is gonna be. And how do you determine, under what rule do you, how do you determine what that cost is gonna be for that annual DayCal?
Well, that would be up to y'all. We're
Well,
just
I
giving you
mean-
what the break-even number is. So you could do a phase-in period over a number of years. You could charge $100 and use it for additional equipment in that division. That strictly would be the commissioner's
All
decision.
TJ did was take the existing budget and divide it by 12,000 households. That doesn't include indirect costs, and it doesn't include the administrative cost based with that as well. So you're probably talking around $100 a year minimum. But all he did was take the existing budget for that department that is allocated to refuse collection, the budget proposed, and divide it by 12,000, and he got the 84.48.
think it's a good presentation, thank you.
The only thing I can say is, if we're going to do something about this, we need to make plans to have public hearings, that people be aware of it. It shouldn't be something that's rammed down their throat. It should be something that they going to be notified about, and they got plenty of options to make plans. And it shouldn't be made mandatory, they have to do it with one company. There's other companies that they may be able to do it. I got people of mine that's paying $35 every 3 months, so, you know.
Well, that's all up to the board. If you want to just say that we don't offer refuse collection and you're free to contract with whoever you want, but what they did here was mandatory, the county would bid it out to one company, and then the county would pay that company, and every year on the tax bill, there'd be a charge for refuse collection.
Why couldn't you take the 84, say $85 that you got here to do option 2 and add that to the tax thing? If people would rather keep option 2 available, why couldn't you just add the $85 onto it?
Well, if you want to keep them open and sell the decals, we can, instead of on the tax bill, we just make it annual, through Rec 1, that you buy, because you could do it online, credit card, and we send you the decal in the mail.
Yeah.
You don't even have to come in. You don't.
We just don't need to be hiring other people. We're gonna do away with something, because this doing away with trash dumps is like a tax increase. Care what you say, it's like a tax increase to the taxpayers of Spalding County.
How is that, Carter?
You gonna start charging something that hadn't been charged for, so it's like,
But, I mean, it's been a gratuity. I mean, we're not required to provide trash pickup in the county.
we open
Yes,
those
sir.
things up with splash money.
I don't know about that. All I'm saying is whatever the service is, that's a service.
It's a service, right?
That's a service. And it costs us more money to operate it than it does not. I mean, we could close, you're making football pay for itself, you're making the senior center pay for itself, everybody else has got to pay for itself. When did picking up trash having the ability to get your trash picked up become a requirement of being a citizen?
Just something that's been gave to the taxpayers of Spalding County, and you go end up with trash, just the trash that they left, the 3 days they closed on the dirt roads, is just about a full-time job for somebody to go by and pick up. And most people are smart enough, they're not gonna throw trash out that's got their names on it. So, it's gonna be something, somebody's gonna have to pick up that trash they throw out on the dirt road.
And that may happen. I mean, we have to do that anyway. But I'm just simply saying, just because something's been done forever doesn't make it right. I mean, and we can go on that example forever. Because just because it's been being done that way don't make it the right thing to do. If you worry about giving people pay increases, you worry about trying to bring down the millage rate, you can't keep giving everything out of the house if you've got bills to pay. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but, you should be responsible for your trash. You should take it to a place where you can have it, whatever. If I see somebody going down the street in a truck and they throw their trash out, I'm gonna get their tag number and I'm gonna turn them in. And I'm gonna tell where I saw this trash thrown out. Now, you may not catch all of it, but you can't do everything that you're saying you wanna do and then keep throwing the rest of the money out the window. There's lots of things that we got on here that we've been doing forever. That don't make it right. That don't make us good stewards of the taxpayers' money because we're not spending it properly. So we gotta pick. If we're gonna give a pay increase, that money's gotta come from somewhere. So do we give them, I mean, it's not mandatory that we give people a pay increase, but if we want anybody to show up for work, we gotta get them some money. So that money's gotta come from somewhere, so it needs to come from those things that we're not required to do. I mean, this is just one of them. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I hope that we don't have people who are dumping on the roads like that, but if they're doing that over in your district, then maybe we need to have more patrols out there. Maybe code enforcement, the people that we're actually paying need to ride those streets. Maybe citizens need to take a little bit more time and be aware of people doing stuff instead of just saying, you know, they threw trash out the window. You can't legislate cleanliness. I mean, you know, you're nasty, you just nasty.
It's all over the county.
It's all over the county. There's,
It ain't.
I'm constantly getting phone calls about a need for trash pickup along, you know, the roads in the district I represent. And, you know, I don't know that we attribute a cost to our inmate work details that we send out to do that kind of cleanup. Do we attribute a cost?
Yes, sir.
Would that come anywhere, would that be any sort of a apples to apples basis for comparison? If we were to I'm afraid if we shut down these collection centers, that trash along the roadside problem is just gonna exponentially increase. And I agree with you that we, you know, trash pickup is not a mandated county service. It just isn't. Well, we have a millage rate of 39.8, and if we impose, you know, option one, $180 cost per year, I mean, I would pay it, but I know that's $15 a month. That would be a burden on a lot of other people, besides, you know, the difficulty that those who live, you know, yards, sometimes hundreds of yards off of the main road would have, you know, the physical exertion needed to get your trash cans up there and back, aside from whether the hauler would make a trip to the back door of the house. I understand that's an available option. I don't know, I'm very concerned that, you know, it is passing along what amounts to a tax increase, because we're reducing the amount of services without making an adjustment in the millage rate. So I too would like to have some public hearings on this to make sure that, you know, everybody's opinion has been heard and that we've taken this into account. It is all about prioritization. I mean, prioritization with limited funds, and, you know, we got folks here talking about, and we also heard the gang's presentation. We've got to do something about that. The sheriff's budget. Sheriff Bain has been, I think, incredibly reasonable in his budget request, but we've got to do something about that. You know, I'm concerned about the $19,000 per fireman that we spend to train, and then they wind up going to the city or the surrounding county because they can get paid more. So we've just done the training for these other communities that hire away our newly trained fire. So we needed to address that to retain those folks, and that's obviously going to mean a more competitive pay scale. And not trying to single them out for any particular increase over other county employees, but I don't know. I'm very concerned about passing really any additional cost on when, you know, our millage rate is so high that we can't make any. We're not in a position to make any adjustment there. So I'd like to have a couple of public hearings and opportunities for residents to come express their opinions.
I got a lot to say, but I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
I just wanted to say, Madam Chairman, that any user fee is a fee. It's not a tax, which means that the cost goes to the user. I don't think that it's legal, and you maybe can ask Sylvia, for you to add a fee onto a property tax. Is that correct? You cannot add a fee.
Garbage is allowed.
Garbage is allowed to be added onto your property taxes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I know we couldn't do anything with the lien.
Right. Garbage was specifically allowed. Many counties do it where they have mandatory, and they franchise out the service. That is one of the only fees allowed to be put on a tax bill.
Okay, so my point is this. If you have a house that is empty, which we have lots of houses in the county that are empty, do you automatically get charged a garbage fee when nobody's occupying the home?
Yes, ma'am.
But that's a service that's not being provided at that time. And if the home is a rental home, the people who are actually living there should be the users responsible for providing that service. It should not, to me, it should not be tied to the taxpayer's cost. Because the taxpayer is not residing in that home. Garbage pickup is for the resident. So if there's no resident there, there should not be a cost to that property. It's just like anything else. If you have yard pickup, I know we still allow people to do burning in the county with a permit. I don't know very many people who carry their trees to the recycling center. Maybe you guys do. But my point is simply this: if you think that people are dumping trash onto the roadway, they're not taking stuff to the recycle center now anyway. You're probably never going to stop those people from throwing trash on the road. But the majority of the citizens do have some sense of what's right, and they will probably dispose of their trash in the ways that they're doing, whether it's the household refuse or yard waste or whatever it is, furniture. But you just cannot assume that if the recycling center is not available, or if it's going to cost, that people are automatically going to dump on the road. I think that's a false assumption. And if we have an issue with that now, then that perhaps is something we should be trying to address in a better way, other than hoping that they won't do it more. I don't think that's an appropriate answer or response to that problem, is hoping that people won't pick up trash. I know the warden at the CI sent William or whoever an email saying that they did have a work group out on the sides of the roads. We have a lot of work details that work for the city of Griffin, for Butts County, for Henry County, Lamar County. Maybe we need to have one of those work crews to just be assigned to cleaning up the streets, cleaning up the roads, where we see that this is happening a lot. Maybe we need to have stricter penalties for littering. Maybe we won't catch everybody, but if you're crazy enough to keep throwing your trash out, you're throwing something out that's got your name on it, or your address on it. So I just think I don't disagree with you that there should be some public hearing, but I just think that as a board, we have to make the physical decision as to whether or not, in order to meet these other goals that we're going to do, if this is something that we really feel like is a requirement that we have to provide. That's all I have.
I agree that we need to ask the public, either through a survey, through on the internet, and the building like we've done before. But that we don't have that much time to do that between now and the budget. So having a public hearing, I think, would be best, or two, to ask the public which option they see. Number one. Number two, I don't think most of Spalding County residents are throwing trash out on the road. I think it's falling off the trucks and the vehicles as they're going to the collection point. And I think with that, they just don't know it fell off. And so we are having that problem of picking up their garbage on the side of the road that basically fell off. Not that they purposely, tossed it off the bed of the truck. I don't think that's an issue, a big issue. But by either going with option one or two, we're improving the county's economic stability. And that's what we've got to consider, because our employees are leaving, where it's hard to recruit replacements at the pay that we've got. The same thing is, we've asked to fix the pay compression issue. And if we're going to take that serious, we've got to take that serious, because as William said, that's a 4 to 5 year fix. And we're not going to fix that overnight. So that's a commitment long term we're going to have to make. On the, billing, I would hate for us to try to save money on billing. And I agree with some of what Gwen said, but I think the taxpayer or the property owner, they get the tax bill anyway. And they're gonna incorporate those taxes into their rent. So I think those additional costs of collection or decals, they would be able to get that, they would be able to get those funds back as well. And it wouldn't increase our cost of mailing out, so to speak. So, that's what, we just need to look at it. I think we've got two good options here. I thank you for doing that. We just need to investigate more, hear the public, and make a decision.
Absolutely. I'm in agreement with you, Commissioner. Okay. So that's what
Okay,
we'll do.
I'll put, setting a date for public hearings on the April 6th agenda, if that's okay.
I got one more question. What, if we were to go with option one, which would be a savings to us, and I think option one was just closing the centers altogether?
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of percentage of pay increase, what would that number come out to be? It was $600 and something thousand.
A little bit around 3%.
So,
But it could possibly fund the next few years
Well-
of pay compression correction.
Correct. The $600,000 is what we're estimating that the first year of the pay compression, salaries and benefits is roughly $600 to $650, somewhere in there.
And then it would increase each subsequent.
That is correct. So your savings would be every year after that if you close the recycling centers. Yes. Which could be used to fund that. Because like you say, once you've given that raise the first year, you can't take it away the
back.
second year.
Yeah,
It
can't
carries
take
on
it back.
and on
You
and
gotta
on.
have somewhere for that money to come from.
Yes, ma'am.
With the second option, I guess what I can't get on the numbers is, where would that leave us in terms of money that we would have to be able to put toward pay? Out of those
There is.
numbers, I can't
There would-
come up with.
Yeah,
where-
Basically, it would be the 787, because we
Roughly,
would be breaking even.
right. What he's saying is if we collected 100%, it would be roughly the 787 that he has said there. Essentially, we would go from funding with tax dollars to funding from fees.
Okay.
Actually, it'd be
So it would,
797.
so it would pay for itself, which would free up the money that we're spending now to go towards salaries.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
It'd be an additional revenue line item in our budget.
all right.
But we would have some administrative costs to collect and things, but that, he told you all that. All right, I'll put that on the April 6th.
Thank you.